African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Oh dear, this is what roadblocks look like in the bush, and this is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live. Good morning and welcome on our Sunrise Safari live drive from the middle of the African bush. My name is Jamie and this morning I have VM on camera with me and we're doing a minor detour to try and get round the roadblock that the elephants very kindly left in the road for us. It's the joys of a live drive. You can't plan and you never know what to expect. Because it is live, it means that you can send through your questions, or everybody duck, on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@WildEarthTV. Sorry, VM. And we are coming to you live from Juma, Aubrey's Road to be exact, if you're wondering where the roadblock is, for those of you familiar with our geography. But from Juma, Arathusa and Cheetah Plains Game Reserves, oh my goodness, whew, made it, in the Sabi Sand in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. Gather, there are elephants here, there are also lions and hippo and buffalo and all sorts of wonderful creatures. So let us go and see what the morning has in store for us. Obviously, for those of you who are our regular viewers, you will know that there was no sunset drive yesterday afternoon, and we do thank you for your patience during the time of rehearsals. Just to fill you in on what happened, I encountered the Nkuhumas. Very big thank you to the Zumi who helped us out with finding those. We encountered the Nkuhumas, all 8 cubs and 4 lionesses minus Amber Eyes, who presumably is off mating somewhere. And they were very clearly hungry. The lionesses were restless up and down. They kept getting up, leaving the cubs behind and then coming back to fetch the cubs. And a massive herd of buffalo came wandering through from Buffelshoek just towards the end of our rehearsal. I'm thinking that the Nkuhumas will have definitely made a beeline for that particular herd. So while I'm going to check the northern boundary, Rent has got a view of what looks to be a spectacular sunrise. Go and have a look.
What a spectacular sunrise this morning. Look at that. Now, it's still quite chilly, but this cloud bank is making for some really impressive skies. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? Now, it is chilly, as I said, and hopefully that means the big cats are going to be on the move. My name is Brent, and of course on camera with me is the other half of the killer bees and his thumb. So Brian Joubert, and the thumb, what is the thumb?
An eye patch.
It's an eye patch. Brian injured his eye last night, so he wishes he had an eye patch like his thumb. Now remember, this is live, and you can ask us questions, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or questions@WildEarthTV. Now the sun is popping. Here we go. Look at that. And all we want to hear is the roar of a lion, or the roar of a leopard, or the snort of an alarm call. Our plan is we're going to go check down south around Treehouse Dam and Gowrie Main. Hopefully Queen Karula and the cubs have made their way back to the north. Now I'm hoping that sun climbs high and fast to warm us up. But we're going to keep on our adventures, see if we can find anything as we head towards the south. Now, while we keep searching for the big cats of Juma, Jamie's found the biggest creature on Juma.
Biggest, and in my case, definitely one of my favorite creatures to start off a morning safari. A large lone bull. Actually, I say large, he's actually quite a young bull, all on his own, munching away peacefully. And just looking at him, you can see easily from his body language that this is a gentleman. Nice, polite young elephant bull. He didn't even so much as raise his head when we repositioned the vehicle to get a slightly better view. Amazingly intelligent creatures. They're always fascinating to watch, just in terms of their interaction with each other and the world around them. And in this case, he is absolutely annihilating a bush willow tree just next to an old hyena den. I was, of course, doing my usual standard cursory checks of the different hyena dens of the area, and of course, on Aubrey's Road, I couldn't help but stop to check the old den. But unfortunately, no hyenas just yet. Our hyena clan, despite many hours spent with them, have moved to the north of where we are. Hello, boy. Good morning. I wonder if he is appreciating the drop in temperature that we've been experiencing. It's a chilly morning this morning. 12 degrees centigrade, which is 54 in Fahrenheit. Unusually cold. But I'm sure for our Ellies, it's definitely something that they enjoy, not having to worry about being too hot. Oh, is that a nice scratch, boy? Is that branch just the perfect height to get to those itches on the top of your head? When you don't have hands, and a trunk won't really do, a good scratch behind the ears from a bush willow tree is the perfect approach. There's something so incredible about stopping and just looking into their eyes. Oh, speak of the devil, I can hear hyenas calling from right inside this block. Surely not. I love that sound. It's one of the best sounds to enjoy. It's one of my favorite sounds of the bush. Right in the direction of that hyena den. I didn't see any tracks. Might be a little bit further than I think just because of the cold morning, but who knows? Ah, silence. Once again. I will go and check the other hyena den just in case. Maybe we'll get lucky. In the meantime, we've already started off with a lucky start to encounter this bull. He's giving us these incredibly spectacular views from the top of his head down to his incredible feet. An elephant's foot is possibly one of the most amazing physical adaptations of any creature out here. And despite appearances, they walk right on the top of their tiptoes with a spongy weight-absorbing or sort of spreading cushion that supports the bones. Look at those massive toenails. That lure of that hyena call is almost irresistible. Trying to just work out exactly where they are. Now, of course, we can learn so much about our elephants just by observing their body language. And Bill, good morning to you and welcome to the Sunrise Safari. You've noticed that baby elephants do a back kick when they play, and you're wondering if adult elephants do the same thing. And the answer is not necessarily no. I haven't really seen them regularly do it, although you can see this elephant was resting his weight for one moment there. There you go. Doing an arabesque for us all. And now tucking his one foot neatly behind the other, so just resting the weight. Bill, I don't know what the reason is behind calves doing that. I think they're just playing. I do know what you mean, though. I think it's playing, learning the coordination, stretching out, doing what children do. And sort of children generally have a range of motion that perhaps adults don't tend to imitate. And elephants are probably the same, although they are remarkably agile creatures. But I think it's just the playful nature of elephant calves. They're so intelligent and they've got so much learning to do. Once they mature, and sadly the sort of playfulness disappears. You don't really, apart from adult bulls like this one who often spar with each other, you don't really see adult elephants playing, do you? At least not in a way that we would recognize as playfulness. The young males do actually keep themselves entertained by sparring with each other, but it's that kind of play that has a very important purpose, because they're learning fighting skills, stuff that they may need, or skills that they may need in the future when it comes time to compete for a mate. Now this young boy is not quite at that point just yet. In fact, he's probably only in the last few years left the safety of his herd, which is why it's quite remarkable that he is as trusting of us as he has been, and as relaxed as he is. Generally you'll find with the younger males, they can be quite skittish, quite nervous of strange things when they're all on their own like this. But he seems to be perfectly comfortable with us. He's obviously learnt that human beings in vehicles are not a problem. Hello, boy. Yes, you are beautiful. I love these close-up images. Get to see the finest details, even the hair on the trunk and the lip is amazing. I don't want to push it with him. I don't want to try and get any closer. Hopefully he decides to start wondering, oh shame, he's actually got an injury. I didn't see that at first. Is that an injury or a leaf? No, it's an injury. Ouch! Is it squashed up leaves, or is it squashed up leaves on an injury? I'm confused. What is happening there? It looks like a puncture wound that has gathered leaves, or perhaps a thorn or something hooked in there and it's still got the leaves attached. A little bit of moisture around it, but that could have been from leaves, I suppose. Maybe he brushed up against something. I can't quite work that one out. Maybe it is. Maybe he just brushed up against some leaves. Interesting. Right, I'm going to leave our Ellie bull. I'm going in search of those hyenas. I can't resist the lure of their call any longer. Let's go and see what other large creature Brent has found for you.
We had a sleeping herd of buffalo, and they've been sleeping for about 5 minutes. And hyena started calling, and one sort of bumped the other, and they all got a fright and stood up in a great panic. The buffalo are quite panicky at the moment, and due to the lions have been really focusing on them. Although I don't think the lions came this far. I thought I heard lions chasing buffalo early last night, but much further to the north in the area Jamie's checking at the moment. I think this is the same herd of buffalo that's been hanging around Zoe's, Philemon's, about 60 to 100 of them. There was a massive herd of buffalo yesterday coming from Buffelshoek, about 400 or so. When they started jumping up, I half hoped that there were lions behind them. I think they just gave themselves a fright. It could possibly be a segment of that big herd if the Nkuhumas managed to split them last night. Shame. The drought has been hard on the buffalo. But we've got to remember the ones that survive are carrying the strongest genetics. And it bodes well for the whole population of buffalo. Some of them are starting to lie down again. I think they're going to settle. And we're going to keep checking for leopard tracks or lion tracks. If we find any tracks of the lions heading in this direction, we'll be back here in a flash. And the sky is incredibly beautiful this morning. Now, excuse me, our hyena population has left us over the last while, and Morning Glory is wondering, is it because of the drought and the lack of prey, and will the rain bring the hyenas back? Morning Glory, it's actually that, I wouldn't say that at all. If anything, the drought has increased the prey and increased their ease of catching the prey. As you can see, they've been doing incredibly well, so have the leopards. Now, I think our hyenas have left us for a combination of reasons. I think pressure from the Elephant Plains clan, and the fact that the Nkuhumas have basically set up on that northern section of Juma where the hyena dens used to be. So I think the hyenas have moved the dens due to their safety, and also we have noticed a bit of pressure coming from the other clan. Maybe there's a vacuum of hyenas in the southern Manyeleti, and so they've moved in there. They still come into Juma, but their dens are off Juma. Now we're just going very slowly, making sure we don't miss any tracks. There's a herd of buffalo on Philemon's cut line, just to the north of Zoe's Junction. Now, we've noticed as the drought has gone on and on the lack of baby buffalo or calves. Now, James Richard was wondering, did I see any calves? I didn't. I saw 1 or 2 sub-adults, but no young calves. Now, what's happening is, even if the females are giving birth, you probably find because of the lack of food around for them, they're not able to produce milk, or even those calves will be stillborn. And that's the buffalo looking after themselves there. So in order for them to breed successfully, they have to survive. So you'll probably find only after a bit more rain, a bit more grass, the buffalo pick up a bit more condition, and we'll see them start giving birth to youngsters again. Okay, you can see they've been all around here last night. You can just see the road. You can see how there's just many buffalo tracks and buffalo pats. But no sign of lions just yet. And we're going to keep checking carefully down from here. We're going to head a bit more to the southeast, see if we can find any sign of Karula. Let's see what's happening up in the north with Jamie.
We've changed our direction, and I'm now racing across to see whether or not we can't catch up with this hyena that's been whooping. I've checked the den site that's a little bit further to the south on Aubrey's Road. No sign of them there, unfortunately. There's a little part of me that was really, not even secretly hoping, that was really hoping that they might have decided to return. And it seems as though I shouldn't get my hopes up on a regular basis, because they definitely haven't returned to that particular den. Now it becomes a game of where's that hyena and where was it calling. And I think it was somewhere around here. And let us keep a close eye out. The problem is they start to call and then they carry on moving, and trying to track down a hyena is actually harder than a leopard or a lion, I think. Trying to track down one individual hyena, unless you know where den sites are. They move so incredibly quickly, and they move constantly. They cover huge amounts of ground. Lions and leopards generally have a purpose. They're going to hunt something. Hyenas just kind of wander. And yet hunt as well. but they do cover far larger distances than leopards or lions, so tracking one down can be a tricky affair. Right, do I think... hopefully it calls again for us. That would really help to narrow it down. I'll just stop here for the moment, take in the view. Gives me an opportunity to just sit and listen. Come on, hyena. Call for us one more time. Beautiful morning. The sounds of the scrub robins and drongos. Nothing. No hyena whoops any longer. Okay, let's go check Sydney's dam. Hopefully it's decided to go through there. That's my next guess. Although it is very hard to guess. Okay. Off we go! On the hunt for a spotted hyena. Not the way I thought my morning was going to go, but not something that I disagree with in any way. So if we were there, it sounded like it was right here. Right at the junction of Sandy Patch. Now we know that they are denning in a place called Manyaleti, which is to the north of our boundary. And actually to the north of Buffelshoek, which is to the north of our boundary. But it's not that far away from us, because the way that the properties are shaped, they almost come through at a wedge towards the gate. Which means there's quite a thin strip of Buffelshoek, and then Manyaleti is just a couple of kilometers away from there. Which means that they pop through onto Juma pretty much every single night. Stop and have a look, see if these hornbills decide to do their display again for us. And while we do that, Debbie in Vancouver's question is actually connected to what these hornbills were doing, which is doing their call. Debbie wanted to know why I think that hyena was calling. Come on. No, that was... Aww. Aww. I had such a nice tie-in. Very typical hornbill flight. Flap, flap, close. Flap, flap, close. Awesome. Well done, VM. Very cool. Sorry, Debbie. I got distracted there. Couple of reasons. That woo is a contact call, and it's the way the hyenas communicating to each other members of the clan, where they are, and at the same time saying to all other hyena clans, hey guys, this territory is occupied. And what's interesting about that is, obviously hyenas have a wide range of different vocal sounds, and each one means something different. What's interesting about that particular one is it's very frequently made by the clan males, who of course sit right down at the bottom of the hierarchy. I'm sitting here, by the way, just in case it calls again, or pops through the side. They're right down at the bottom of the clan hierarchy, because they're males, and that's how spotted hyenas work. But they do play a very, very important role in maintaining the territory of a hyena clan, or at least a home range, which obviously extends far beyond just the den site and around the den site. It'll extend all the way, for a case of the Juma clan, all the way down south. If the hyenas were calling for backup, which they do. So let's say they encountered the lions and decided, okay, I think it's worth trying to steal this kill. Let's try and bring backup or reinforcements. That contact call is very, very similar, but slightly more frantic. It's and it's more repeated. It's not the lazy woo and then wait for ages, then woo. It's almost constant. It's woo, woo, interspersed with some very sort of giggling, excited sounds, which you would have heard before. So it's the more time you spend with them, if you know, of course you can, because they've deserted us, but the more time you spend with them, the more you can start to understand their individual calls. Right, one last ditched effort, otherwise we're going to move on and start heading along the northern boundary. And I plan on going to see Tundi this morning, if she's still there, which is very, very exciting. Last time I saw Thandi, we were waiting patiently for the cubs to come out. And then, of course, Brent went back there the next afternoon, and they did. They were. And I'm really hoping that today proves to be no different. We'll have to wait quite a long time to have an opportunity to go into that sighting. There's quite a few people who want to go see it. But Thandi is a leopard, for those of you who are wondering, with two gorgeous little, Brent says, male cubs. I'm dying to see them. I can't hold back any longer. Thundi's one of my favourites. Now, Nadia in New Zealand, welcome to the Sunrise Safari. You wanting to know about Tundi and her cubs, and you wanted to know if she's been reunited with them. I was listening to the Game Drive channel. It didn't seem as though she was with her cubs yesterday afternoon. That in itself is not that unusual. Those cubs are still very, very young. They are, and she's probably actually taking them. She's got 3 impala kills, not 2, 3 impala kills. So she's probably taken them each and every time that she'll bring them out. There's a crow. Sorry, VM, that was on the fly. It's a crow. For those of you who are building up your bird lists, that's one that we don't often see here. My hair does not want to do what it's told today. So she hadn't been reunited with her cubs, but it's nothing too serious to worry about. It's pretty standard behavior for a mother with young cubs, and probably very clever behavior. With 3 impala kills, she knows that the hyenas are going to come lurking. And with the cubs being so young, I think she'd rather just play it better safe than sorry, which is an entirely sensible approach. Sorry, that was a bit disjointed with that crow. Just by the way, that's a bird that we often see if we go outside of the reserves, but we hardly ever get to see inside of the reserve. I think that's the 3rd time I've ever seen them on Juma. That's something else we can aim for. Unusual birds. Cuckoos, perhaps, this morning. But for our new viewers, we always encourage everybody to keep a bird list, a checklist, just a checklist of all of the different birds that you can see. Right, I think my signal's actually going to disappear as we go towards Sydney's Dam, so why don't you jump on back with Brent and find out what he's up to.
Well, we're still going very slowly. Combination of not wanting to miss tracks and not wanting to freeze. This cold snap is taking us by surprise. I mean, it feels like we're back in winter. I can remember this time last year in October. We definitely weren't under blankets. We would have been, what is the polite way? We would have been glowing profusely. I think our average morning starting temperature must have been 18 to 20 degrees Celsius in October last year. Now we're closer to 10. Now the sun is starting to get higher in the sky, and I'm hoping it is going to warm us. We might have to play the other primate game a little later. Now, in the early winter's morning, as the sun peaks up at the tips of the trees, there's often vervet monkeys to be seen sitting like this, trying to warm up in the early morning. I think we might play the vervet monkey game when the sun's a bit higher. Checking at the moment all Karula's sort of Karula hotspots. We find her tracks or find her regularly. So we've come and we've checked around Treehouse, Waterhole, and we're now heading towards the southern boundary, see if there's a sign of her around there. But while we're going, there's always a lot, and I think we're going to try to find you some, as I stop, try find you some of the most spectacularly beautiful birds we get out here, which are the sunbirds. I can hear one. Now we've got lots of different trees and flowers. We'll start off with a helmet shrike on the base, hanging on that hanging branch there. There you go. Sorry, a bit to the left. There he is. Oh, a few goes white-crowned shrikes. And we can hear a little chin spot batters calling. And even the birds seem to be a bit slow this morning in the cold. to have to find a flowering, leaping booby, because I think there's going to be lots of different sunbirds on that. No, it was a hyena. A very warm welcome to a new viewer, Jay Copeland. And Jay would like to know if we've ever done a bit on the technology it takes to do a live broadcast. Now, Jay, I think if you go to our Final Control, might have to correct me on this, our Facebook page, I think there could be a buy. Affirmative. If you go to our, there we go, Final Control. If you go to our Facebook page, which is Safari Live, and have a look in the videos, there's a couple of little ones on the technology. I think look at the first Cheetah Plains one, and you will see us erect a mast that we broadcast from, and also, and there's some stuff about the other technology, rovers, drones, all that type of stuff. So just have a look through the videos on our Facebook page, Jay, and that should help you out to understand the technology, because Brian and I, we don't. I can tell you that a thingamajig goes from the antenna behind me to a bigger antenna, and then it zigzags or does something to Final Control, and then it bounces, I think, to Dubai or to London, and that's about where my knowledge ends. Okay, so, what's that? Let's just go look at that one track over there. I don't think it's a leopard track, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. It's not. Oh, there's one more up there. Nope. Now, so far you've met Jamie and myself as we scour the African bushveld from the game drive cars. Of course, we've also got Stef, who's getting some exercise this morning.
Good morning, yes, and we finally managed to get out after a bit of a jumpy start this morning, getting this backpack going. I think she got a bit cold last night and she was a bit temperamental. But I'm Stef Winterboer and we have got Jean on camera today, and I just want to say good morning. What a fantastic morning it is here today. I must be honest with you, we're just on quarantine clearing still this morning, and not a breath of air after the last couple of days of near, I don't know, for me it felt like gale force winds at least, but today's very calm. We have got this funny band of cloud, patchy cloud that's come in. I'm sure you've seen it already from either Jamie or Brent, to be honest. And I don't quite know what it means. We'll see. It's sort of coming in from the south and from the west. We normally get our rain all from the southeast, so that's basically where we get our rain from. That's our general rain, and then we get huge storms that come in from the north. So when we've got big rain clouds coming in from the north, generally heralds, we don't get too much hail down here, but massive amounts of rain. We're talking about this much rain in sort of a week's time when we get these big tropical cyclones blowing in. They haven't heralded any of those sort of things for this season, but we're looking forward to it. Okay. All right, Jean is busy walking backwards now towards this tree, which I was thinking about letting him get himself tied up in before, before warning him there, but no. Alright, what's our plan for today? We are now heading towards the Mawati. I want to cross the Mawati round about the Wahlberg's Eagle's Nest, and I'd like to go up into that block behind Or on Central Road, basically, heading towards Drakensberg. That's where I want to go. There's a few drainage lines inside there. Nice thick bush. I feel like walking underneath a canopy today. That's what I feel like doing. So we are going to be walking across quarantine and walking across the Mawati. I'm sure we'll catch up in the next couple of minutes, and we are going to put you through to Jamie with an update, I think.
Look at how incredible this is. This is a truly... Oh, there's two! This is such an incredible sight. I have never ever seen this before. They're baby bronze-winged coursers. Oh, this is such magic. Oh my word. There's actually 3 of them wandering about. There goes one of the adults about to pop on. 1, 2, 3. Hello. Oh, too sweet for words. I've never ever seen a baby bronze-winged courser. This is truly special. Now these can't be more than a couple of days, less than a couple of days old. Ah, look how disproportionate they look. They look ridiculous. Very well spotted to Viam, who actually saw them. Tuk, 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 tuk. Wow. Really, truly incredible. Perfectly camouflaged. Oh, there goes number 3. This is incredible. This is truly a first for me. There goes one of the adults dashing away. I'm going to try and reposition. I don't want to scare them too much, so I don't want to make too much noise or too much movement. So actually, let's just stay here and let them run. Oh, isn't that incredible? Only a couple of days old, born precocial, in other words, up and about and ready to run, not born naked and blind, as the way of a lot of passerine birds. These are ground-dwelling birds, and as a result, the chicks have to be ready to go. There's Mom, or Dad. Oh, look at that! Quick, everybody, hide away. Oh, wow. And they are... Oh, no, come on guys, budge up. Can't fit under there. Everybody move up. Who would have guessed? Did you know that bronze-winged coursers wrap their babies under their wings? Because I didn't. I would have guessed, I suppose. And their mom settles down on top of them. Or Dad. Both Mom and Dad play a role in raising the little ones. Perfectly hidden. What an amazing defense. Look at that. You'd never know that they were there. That goes down as one of the coolest bronze-winged sightings I have ever had. So it's a bronze-winged courser. It's a nocturnal bird species. I'm going to try for one more reposition. I'm going to try and remember where they are now, because they've completely vanished from my point of view. That has put such a big smile on my face. Spring is here. Baby birds everywhere. Let's see. Where were they? I can't even see them anymore. You got him. Oh, a little bit further. There we go. Well done, little courser. What an incredible sight to see. You can see that it's a nocturnal bird, massive eyes, and they obviously spend their days hiding away and sleeping in some dense vegetation. And I'm so impressed by the parenting skills. If we'd driven past this bird now, we would never ever have known that there were babies there. And all 3 of them are safely tucked under her wings. Totally different colour to the adults, as you see, with that sort of a black and white mottling, and brown, which makes for a perfect camouflage. And it's the one thing that birds do very well, parenting. Especially since the fathers also play a role, which is relatively rare in the mammal kingdom. But for birds, it's probably the status quo for most of them. Dad and often even a previous offspring will help out with the raising of the chicks. And it just feels as though we've got so many different baby birds about to emerge. The Wahlbergs are nesting, that crested barbet nest, and now little baby bronze-winged coursers. Now that is a truly, truly special sighting. As I said, that is the first time I have ever seen a baby bronze-winged courser, and there were 3 of them. Very exciting. Well, it seems as though the birds are out and about this morning. Let's see which one Brent has found for you.
And we're talking about different creatures basking in the morning sun, and that's exactly what this dark morph Wahlberg's eagle is doing. Sitting high up in a massive leadwood tree and enjoying those warming rays of the sun. Now, there is a pair that have a nest close to here, and of course we've got the pale morphs that are much closer to camp, and then we've got a dark morph, and he's got a pale, or I'm not sure if it's he or she, but there's a dark and a pale morph that are nesting together down around Twin Dams. So we've made our way into the Mawati River, and as Jamie said, the birds are out this morning, and I've been really looking forward to having a morning where the light's good for birding. So who knows, maybe today will be the day that we get to see the elusive white-throated robin chat. And of course, apart from being good for birds, the Mawati is great for leopards. Who knows, maybe we can find Queen Karula down here. No sign of her tracks around the treehouse waterhole, and no sign of her tracks heading south just yet. Darn it, and flew off. There was a little gabar goshawk. Now, of course, probably we're a bit early, but next month we're going to start looking out again for the grey-hooded kingfisher who nested in that hole last wet season. And while we continue our search for feathered friends and spotted creatures, it seems like Jamie's having all the elephant luck this morning.
Such an amazing view with the silhouettes of a whole herd of elephants that has come, not quite racing, but definitely walking with a purpose across from Buffelshoek and into Juma. Right, now that they've all gone across, I didn't want to block their route in any way. Now that they've all gone across, we can reposition. Sure, very bright this morning. I can't actually see. I want to make sure we go quite slowly in case there's still some stragglers that I haven't noticed. Don't see anybody. Morning, Ellies. Perhaps on their way towards Juma Dam or Galago Pan. Stopping for a light breakfast on the way.
Morning, mobile station. Get an update. Morning, just want to go off of the tap line and go shortcuts. Otherwise, nothing
There
yet.
you go. Very much on the move, so I think our sighting with them will be relatively brief. Something very peaceful about this particular scene. Big old female. She is massive. Trundling behind. And then a whole group of youngsters. A complete contrast to the elephant sighting we had at the start of the morning, where it was just a young bull on his own. This is the standard unit of elephant. It's a unit of elephant. 1 unit of elephant. A breeding herd of about, I'd say about 8 individuals. Collection of related females and their offspring. And slowly but surely melting into the vegetation, disappearing off to the south. There we go, male. That's such an iconic shot. Elephant disappearing off. Oh, stop to find something. Having a quick dig to get out whatever's underneath the ground that smells so nice. Oh, chivied along. Everybody hurry up. Time to go. No rest for this little one. He has to catch up with the rest of the herd. And there they go. Vanishing off. Now I can hear something moving over here. I'm just going to go see if it's the last straggling elephant. These elephant herds are often... You got him. These elephant herds are often tailed by large bulls. And I think that's exactly why I was going so slowly into the sun, because I couldn't see exactly if there was one behind them. And there we go. That assumption is proved to be correct. The bulls often tag along in the hope of perhaps finding a female in estrus, or maybe even just for a little bit of company generally as they move along. Since they do spend their lives being solitary, it's nice for them every now and again to encounter some other elephants. And they generally keep their distance for the most part, but this bull is definitely following along behind. We're going to duck past him, see what else we can find on our northern boundary. Let's head across to Stef and find out how his stroll through the bush is going.
Yes, and we've managed to find something that's quite rare here at Juma, and that's an erosion gully. It's not going anywhere, it's not particularly exciting until I let you know that erosion, as bad as what this looks like, is 100% natural. This is not caused by any man-made interference or any intervention, at least by man. This is how it's supposed to be. So it's the work of a river and the work of water to flatten mountains, and it's upliftment and it's volcanic activity and it's sedimentation that creates mountains. But water and the action of water is what breaks mountains down, and we're seeing a very, very pristine example of what that actually is. So right here, when rain falls, you get that rainfall erosion. As the drop of rain comes smashing out of the sky, it basically loosens the soil and creates this movement of soil, and then you get a sheet flow developing. So water that flows over the land and will start to collect in depressions. And here you can see the first of those depressions. So water flowing down from this area here will start to collect into this. And as you can see here, as the more water collects and the water starts to speed up and the gradient starts to increase, this sort of basic building block of a river comes down here and starts to get a little bit more serious at about this level. At this stage, the water starts to increase velocity, and with increased velocity, the water starts to pick up a bigger particle of soil, and you start to get this sort of thing happening where bigger particles of soil start to join or start to flow downstream. And as these little streamlets, this one and this one and this one and this one, all start to join together, you get this happening. And this starts to become what we call one of these early rivers. There's a word for it. For the life of me, I can't remember it as I'm busy speaking to you right now. But basically what happens is you start to get rivers forming that join together, they get a little bit bigger and join other bigger ones, and that has happened over here. So we're getting 1, 2 of the same size rivers joining one another, and by now you can start to see that the size of the particle that they are carrying is substantial. They are taking away the sand at a rate. Every time it rains, more and more will come down, until eventually what happens is a bunch of these smaller ones start to develop and will reach the water table. And at that point you've got a permanent river. or at least a semi-permanent river, because the water table does rise and fall with the season. So the water table lies just below the level of the sand in the dry season, and sometimes in a very wet year it'll lie just above the level of the sand, in which case the water will flow for most of the year. That's basically what we've got over here. And then from there, the Mawati will join a similar river, become a bit bigger and have more velocity, and will dig a deeper channel, and eventually that flows, I think the Mawati flows into the a river called the Nwati Tsonso, which lies just to the eastern side of the Sabi Sands, the northern Sabi Sands, and that then flows into, I think, the Willifants River, if I'm not mistaken, which the sea. But pristine example of a natural erosion here. And the reason why there's no plants here, of course, is because the movement to soil here is so rapid that plants can't germinate. You do get a couple of hardcore ones. This is a jackalberry, believe it or not. That, yes, it's a jackalberry that's just getting absolutely hammered by everything. You can't even decide to grow. So it's, although it should be a fairly tall tree at this point, it looks like it is being eaten completely in copper stout, and it's just only allowed to do this. But what we'll do is, Jandra, if you wouldn't mind turning around and taking a look at all these little rivulets or streamlets, one here, one there, one there, one there, and what will happen is all of this will one day wash away as it's creep up and flatten out the river. Isn't it nice? Nice to see. These things are healthy. They're meant to chat
It's south, following the little river system that comes out of the Buffalo's Hook waterhole, and we're going to follow it all the way to Buffalo's Hook. I just got a report from the east that 2 male lions crossed into Juma last night, and we're heading towards Buffalo's Hook Dam. So a good place to start looking for tracks, not where they crossed, but a bit further to the west, and hopefully we'll get some luck, or maybe they'll even lead us to the Nkahumas. Well, Kevin says he's pretty sure he heard the lions make a buffalo kill last night. And Kevin, I agree with you. I heard them chasing buffalo. I didn't actually hear a takedown though, and that mournful bellow of a buffalo with a lion attached to it. But it'll be interesting to see. Now, we're just slowly moving our way through. We've checked the south now. There's no sign of leopard, so we're going to start making our way to the north. And let's just hope, fingers crossed, that they made the kill on Juma and didn't go north into Buffalo's Hook. Come on, son, warm up. And it's been quite quiet. There hasn't been much a general game around. We haven't seen any zebras, impala, inyala, kudu. Actually, we haven't seen one duiker, I think, so far this morning. Been a bit quiet on the general game front. Now, oh, and a second duiker sprinted across the road in front of us. A third duiker! It disappeared down into this river system. But they have led us to what looks like a little bird party. There we go, the red-billed hornbill. Oh, no, he's also deciding he's off. No one's hanging about this morning, are they, Brian? Well, of course, we're birding this morning, and Calvin's wondering, how do we identify birds from a distance while they're moving or while we're moving? Well, Calvin, generally you go by a thing called general size, shape, and impression. So, if you have a quick look, you can normally pop it into one of the families, or hornbills are nice and easy. But of the smaller stuff, warbler, flycatcher, etc., etc. And then also depends where you see them, also is a good clue. We're around a river system, or if we're up on a crest of a hill, or we're next to a dam. But generally, like anything, Calvin, it's practice makes perfect. The more you look at them, the more you're able to identify little distinguishing features. I just wanted to have a look. No male lion tracks, so we keep going towards Buffalo's Hook. I'm really hoping we bump into a bird party that's being a little bit more cooperative. Now, birds are often the most difficult thing to get on camera, well, apart from butterflies. I think it's a bit too cold for butterflies this morning. Little one calling. Oh. Oh, sorry, Brian. As you got ready, he took off. Where did he land? Oh, no, he's gone. There's a little crombeck. But we've seen a Wahlberg's sunning itself. Got him there, Brian. Little. Oh, so quick. It was a bleaching warbler or a green-backed Cameroptera. It's a very quick view of a Cameroptera, and of course, at another moment, just disappears from sight. We'll keep moving, keep trying. Busy birds this morning. Now, Rick says lions seem to be a lot more vocal than leopards. Why so? Well, generally often the fact is that you've got multiple males that are in different areas, and they also have much larger territories to control, so that vocalization is more important. Leopards, apart from vocalization, or Ellies, they also use a lot of scent marking as territorial boundaries. Hi, Ellies. Are you chilly this morning as well? Hello, you. Seen any lions? No? Yes? If you just listen for a little bit, we'll hear lots of different things. Apart from the elephants feeding, listen to the birds down here along the edge of this little dry river. See how many different bird species you can hear. Okay, so I got at least 7 birds there, and that constant, that beautiful little chortle is of the black-headed oriole. There were some noisy drongos. There was a puffback shrike. There was, what else was there? I'm trying to. Oh, there was Cape turtle dove, green pigeon, lots, and hopefully we're going to get them on camera for you shortly. But we're going to keep moving, seeing if we can catch up with those male lions. And while we do that, let's go see what Stef's up to.
We are up to walking through the Mulwati, and we've come to a place where there have been some bee-eaters nesting. I wanted to see if we have some luck with some white-fronted bee-eaters. Come with us, let me show you where they nest. And for a bird that's as pretty as a bee-eater, for them to nest in a place like this seems pretty bizarre. We won't get too close just in case we can see them, but inside this bank, there's a termite mound that has been cut away by the flow of the river. And you'll notice that on a plain, there are some holes in the bank there. And that is where some bee-eaters, some white-fronted bee-eaters, have been nesting in the past. They're not around at the moment, which shows me that they probably haven't started to excavate their nest. But bee-eaters have got the most fantastically curved beaks and these long bodies for catching bees and wasps and keeping the wasp sting away from their faces. And you'd never think that a bird like this will actually nest in a hole in a bank. And especially because it's so weird having this big curved beak that you need to dig with. So they basically go into the holes, will be stretching their face out, would take a tiny little scoop of sand and then use their feet to kick the sand out of the hole. And they nest in these colonies. We don't find huge colonies of bee-eaters here, but up in Botswana and Zambia you get these colonies of carmine bee-eaters. We see them around New Year. They come south when it's raining quite heavily up in the nearer to the tropics. They come down to South Africa to feed on termites and termite alates, those flying termites, and get out of the rain as much as what they can. And then just after Christmas they all go back up north again and go and have their babies there. But they can literally be in clouds. Groups of thousands of carmine bee-eaters flying around your head. It's just a phenomenal experience, and one that we can sort of recreate over here. Not as much, but just sort of. Nothing in attendance now. We've been here for a good couple of minutes and there's nothing coming in. Although what I am noticing is in this huge jackalberry behind us. Come through here. Is a group of green wood hoopoes. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer. So they are in the tree now. Jandre is going to hate me for wanting to get the bird to you. They're feeding towards us, and hopefully we can get a little bit closer to them here. Ah, no, there he goes. No, here he's in the open here, Jandre. You're not getting away so easily. Yeah, he's in the top. Oh, no, flown away. Alright, this morning's one of those weird days with birds. We're battling. But let me get a bit closer. I think you're going to lose signal if you come with me all this way. Let me just see if any of the holes are active. No. 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 So one or two, really. Jason, you've asked me to find you a fossil, and do I ever find a lot of fossils out here? Jason, you know, I've got the most wonderful story. Dr. Lee Berger is a very, very famous paleoanthropologist. He's just found, or has found in the past, that him and his teams have found many links in the evolutionary chain of humans and of their evolution, all in southern Africa. I was privileged enough to join him for a walk once, and he walked to a bank just like this, and it was just a little bit further down in the Sabi Sands, a little bit further south, and he dug around in a white calcrete layer, and I'm actually seeing if hasn't surfaced yet. It lies just underneath this bed and we can actually see some of it. Let me get you some. This here, the layer that these rocks come from, these ones in particular, which lies just below this layer, is where he was digging around with he had a little piece of a rod, and he was digging around with the rod, and he dug out a bushbuck's bone, a bushbuck's foreleg bone. And he said to me, do you know how old this is? And I said, no. Well, firstly, he needed to tell me that it was a bushbuck, and he did it by using this funny formula that he had. He said, this thing is 60,000 years old. And he dug out a bone, literally, that was exposed in a rock stratum, just like this, that had been lying there for 60,000 years. And who knows, that bushbuck was probably from a leopard or a lion kill, or wild dogs perhaps, that was in one of these trees in the drainage line, had fallen down, had been covered in this layer of soil and sand, and 60,000 years of sedimentation on top of that before it was uncovered by the floods in the year 2000. And he just found it just walking around here. So fossils is in dinosaur fossils or ammonites or anything like that, not really that are found in the Sabi sands, but absolutely things that are tens of thousands of years old. And well, who knows, maybe we'll be lucky enough to find one on one of these walks going forward. But it was just such an interesting story to relate to that particular time with Dr. Lee Berger, who's now become quite famous. I don't think I'll be able to join him for a walk ever again. All right, this is probably the biggest peltiforum I've ever seen. Now, many of you will know that we talk about these peltiforums, the African wattle, quite often, and they tend to be small trees to little bushes like we have. I use it for bedding. I find it to be the most comfortable outdoor bedding when you are camping in the bush. Insulation is one problem, being comfortable is always another. And this beautiful bedding, they also make quite nice waterproofing for shelters that you build, or that you could build out here. Makes a very nice waterproofing if you pick a handful and you lay them down like that on your shelter. The rain falls straight along them and not down them. But this here is the biggest peltiforum that I've seen on Juma. I've been walking past one of this particular tree for the last year and I haven't even noticed it. But this is a real giant of a peltiforum. I didn't even know they get this big, to be quite honest with you. Hey big guy, how you doing? Say good morning to big old trees like this. Anna Marie, you are talking to my heart right now. You've just said, I hope that we get to see a weeping boerbean tree today. And that is exactly what we're walking around down on top of these drainage lines for, is to find you a weeping boerbean tree. For no small part is a bit of a selfish part there for me as well. I also quite enjoy them. And I'm expecting them to come into bloom at any day now. And I'm hoping that at some point today we'll find one of them that's in flower for you. The dwarf boerbeans are already in flower. The tambutis have even got seeds on them, some of them at the moment. So why the boerbeans have been reluctant to flower, I'm not too sure. But nevertheless, while we're finding some of those boerbeans to go to, we're going to be sending you through to Jamie for an update.
Well, I've got good news and I've got good news. Ooh. And a very loud radio. So the good news is that the Nkuhumas have not come out of Juma. The other good news is that we are on our way to see Thandi. So all in all, an exciting prospects for the morning ahead. Right, where have these tracks gone? Can also tell you that a male lion walked down this road at some point last night. Unfortunately, they have now been driven over already. I was going to stop and show you some really nice male lion tracks, but they're already gone. Sorry. That's okay. I'm not going to stop and go back just because I do want to get to Tundi before we lose our spot at that time. Just keep going for now, and we'll follow up on the lions a little bit later. And apparently there's no sign of the cubs yet, but that's a big yet. There's a very good chance that she will call them out, so I'm hoping that if we go there and hope maybe we can sit there for a little bit of time, I think most of the guides and their guests have already seen Tundi, so we won't have to rush out of that sighting like we would normally. And hopefully we can spend a little bit more time with her. I'm going to be going quite quickly for now. Speaking of Tundi and her two little fuzzballs, Debbie, you've asked a question about Tundi's twin sister Shadow. And Debbie, and to all of the others that are asking about this, the answer is no, unfortunately not. There have been no further sightings of Shadow's cub. She was seen very briefly when Shadow first started mating about a month and a half ago now. And she hasn't been seen since, and Shadow's just been constantly mating with Tingana. I'd like to say that I'm still hopeful, but my hope is draining away, unfortunately, but you don't know. It's not confirmed. All I can tell you is that she hasn't been seen. I really hope that it's not the case, but it's not looking very positive. Really difficult for a little thing to survive for such extended periods of time without mom. It's a very sad situation. I'm glad though that we've got Tundi's cubs, but Shadow just seems to be incredibly unlucky in terms of raising cubs successfully. Our ladybug and daisies, no, this isn't Tundi's first litter. I actually got to meet her daughter, who doesn't actually have a name, just because she's been apparently was hardly ever seen and she moved towards Mala Mala. She does have a daughter. I saw her for the first time, and it's the first and only time I've ever seen her, or any of us have ever seen her, on Cheetah Plains. And I thought it was in Nkanyeni, because I didn't know any better. I'd never seen Tundi's daughter, and I'd never seen in Nkanyeni, and therefore I assumed it was in Nkanyeni, in her normal territory. But no, she has a daughter and she has a son, both of whom have survived to adulthood. Brent, I think, has seen Tundi's son, Bahuti. Vem have you seen? You've seen Bahuti. Okay, so Vem's seen Bahuti. Her daughter doesn't have a name. I think we should give her a name, to be honest. And then this would be probably not her first litter. And she's probably lost quite a few as she goes along. Because, of course, she's the same age as Shadow, as her twin sister, turning 10, I think, in November. So she will have had multiple litters in her life. It's what makes Karula so incredible, is her unbelievable success rate with raising cubs. Shadow and Tundi have not been as lucky. I'm not sure whether it's testament to Karula's skill or testament to the bad luck of her two daughters. But Karula really truly is an exception to a general rule. Brr, it's getting colder. This ridiculous weather. There's a feeding party, but I'm going to duck it. I'm going to leave the birds for now. We are just going to keep racing across towards Tundi's sighting. Okay. And speaking of birds, since we have had such a marvellous bird-filled morning, David in Napa, my apologies, I should actually have clarified properly. You are absolutely right, it was an African pied crow that we saw earlier. So yes, absolutely it was. My third time seeing them. The first was with the Nkuhumas when the Birmingham boys stole their buffalo kill and then just ignored the buffalo kill. And we had lots of vultures, one of the few times I've seen Cape vultures, and then one random pied crow trying to pick up the scraps. The second was on a walk with Stef, and that was the third time flying over our heads. So it's very, very common to see if you're driving through one of the villages or one of the towns surrounding the Sabi-San, but we don't see them that often on the reserve itself. Aha! Hold on everybody, I'm going to assume that the vultures gathered here are attracted to Tundi's 3 impala kills. Very impressive.
Gondo 120, heading north, on the other road north. towards the waterhole. Tracks have been walked over by elephants, but I'm going to try follow.
Copy that, Brent. I didn't pick up anything at Buffelshoek Waterhole itself, but I was busy looking at buffalo weavers as well.
Jimmy.
Standing by.
How are you, no?
I'm just coming through now. I'm on Gowrie Main. Can I make my way in?
There's space for you, yeah?
Copy that, thank you. We are just about to go into the sighting. I'm not sure how long we're going to have to spend with her. I see there's more than one vehicle. Hi guys, morning. I can see little leopard tracks on the road. I don't see any cub tracks. I'm not going to stop to show them to you right now. I'll show them to you on our way out. I just don't want to waste time not spending time with Tundi. Sorry, Brent, please go ahead.
What was your route from Buffelshoek Waterhole?
I went along Hippo Pools.
Any signs that there's no line tracks?
Negative. There's Nkonzo 4, Maduro and Ngala going south on Cheetah Cut Line. Sorry everybody.
Okay,
Just chatting to Brent. It's a negative. They disappeared off around Central Road. I think I know where her cubs are. Just judging by where the tracks have gone. Here we go. Here's beautiful Thandi. Up in a tree. Hey girl. Let's see if we can't get a nice position to see her properly. So we're not allowed onto Torchwood, but there is a slight leeway that we'll be able to just go onto the, just slightly off the road from the fire break. Here we go. We won't push our luck, but we'll just settle here. Perfect. Now the reason I say I think I know where her cubs are, I can see their tracks going into Cheetah. So that's where she's taken them to. And there is the beautiful Tundi, one of my favorite leopards. I'm not quite sure what it is about her. I think it's her size combined with her nature. Tundi doesn't take any nonsense from anyone. Built up a little bit of a reputation as occasionally grumpy. But that's something that I really like about her. She doesn't take nonsense. Look here, girl. No, don't look there. Look here. Amazing. I wonder where the other impalas were. This is the last one, I think. Oh, there might be two in this tree. So she's obviously been very successful with hoisting, which is something that her sister Shadow is not so good at, for whatever the reason may be. And she's... oh, there we go. Here we go. Giving us a stunning view of her face. So Shadow's always been bad at leaving her kills on the ground, where they are almost instantly stolen by hyenas. We have seen her hoist before, but she rarely hoists larger kills. She kills impala and so on, but she very seldom puts them up in a tree. Karula, on the other hand, is very, very good at it. She eats as much as she can and then she lifts it up. I've seen her take an entire adult impala, still with its stomach contents inside it, up a 10-meter tree. So we know that she's exceptionally powerful. And Thandi, I think, perhaps has inherited Mom's strength in that respect. And if we're right about the theory of her taking her cubs away from this kill site, she's a very clever girl indeed. Knowing that 3 impalas is going to attract a lot of attention, and not just attention in the form of hyenas. The lions use this road regularly, as a pathway between the eastern parts of their territory and towards Juma and the northern parts. It's actually a veritable lion highway, which she will also be aware of. And that also is why it's a very, very good idea to hide her cubs elsewhere, away from the kills themselves. You can hear her crunching away delicately. Now we sit and we wait, and hopefully we won't have to leave the sighting before she goes and fetches her cubs again, if she goes and fetches her cubs again. Now they are already, even young and fluffy, they are already feeding off meat. Such an iconic image, that. There's a very typical pattern with which trees leopards will put their kills in, and it makes total sense. The marula tree is probably the most common one that we see leopard kills in, and that's because they're broad, they're solid, and most importantly, they don't have thorns. And they always seem to have a convenient resting place for a carcass so that it doesn't fall to the ground. Marulas, jackalberries, fig trees in places where there are figs, and leadwood trees, those are generally the most popular choices. But for us, I would say that about 75% of our kills that we see are in marula trees. Possibly, yeah, probably around that. Maybe a little bit less. But the leopards, a really comfortable spot for them. The bark is nice and smooth, or smoothish, so they can go and lie in the tree. It's a good choice. Thank you, Ephraim. And a warm welcome to a name that I have not heard before. Sea Humans Photo. It's fantastic to have you on board, and I'm so glad that you have sent through questions. Now, you've got two questions. One is, how old can leopards get, and how can you tell them apart? So for this area in the wild, you're probably looking at about an average of around 15, 16 for the females, and probably just a little bit less for the males. That being said, leopards in captivity can live up into their early 20s. There's recorded cases of leopards living up to 21 years old, but that's very, very unusual in this particular area. And around 16, a leopard really seriously starts to lose condition. And because they are living out in the wild, and it is so tough, they very often die around 16 when they're no longer able to hunt. And just like all mammals, their eyesight is reduced, their hearing is reduced, they lose those hairs in the inside of their ear canal that provides us with hearing, and all in all it just starts to seriously weaken them. Now, how do we tell them apart? Well, the typical way, the official way, is to look at the top row of whisker spot patterns, which are at the moment hidden behind the tree. So you look at the top row on the right and the left, and you count the number of spots, and it'll be something like 2, 3, or 3, 3, or 4, 4. So referring to the ones on the right first, and then the number of spots on the left. Now, that being said, I find that the more time you spend with them, the more actually it's very easy to recognize individual leopards. When you spend a bit of time with them, they start to become as easily identifiable as, well, I suppose almost as people. Each one looks different. One way that often I find is more helpful for me, in terms, rather than trying to remember 2 3s and 3 3s and 4 3s, is to look for really characteristic spot patterns. Like Karula has a wow on her forehead. Literally, she's got the word wow on her forehead. And it's really clearly, once you see it, you can't unsee it. What's she looking at? She spotted something. No, back to feeding. Unfortunately, I can't I can't really push it and go any further into Torchwood. I'm just sitting on the boundary now, but I can't reposition to get a better view, but this isn't too bad for now. So I like to look for typical spot patterns, but you learn to recognize the shape of their faces as well, and their body language, which any of our regular viewers will tell you, and our regular viewers were instrumental in helping me learn the different leopards. Hey, gorgeous. Thandi looks like her sister, Shadow. We're going to sit here and wait patiently. Let's head out to Stef, who is proactive in his approach of finding things this morning.
These Ellies have absolutely trashed red spikethorn. And I didn't even know elephant ate red spikethorn, but they definitely decided that this one sounded nice. For what reason? It's just incredible. They pretty much ate virtually every season. It's the only reason how we managed to identify the tree was with this particular branch. Madness. But anyway, I have also found for Donna and Val your square-stemmed raisin. You asked me for that yesterday. Here's your square-stemmed raisin. You can see that very square stem, or Kalahari raisin as we call it, or sandpaper raisin it's also known as. Quite nice. Quite hard, and then has this incredibly rough textured leaf that you can use. I've used it on my rifle. I've used it on burrs on fingernails. If you have a burr developing on a fingernail, you can use it on that. This one is too tiny to have any sandpaper effect just yet, but by the end of summer there will be bushes of this particular tree all over the place. So I hope that answered your question. I hope you're watching this morning at least anyway, and that managed to find it. I found this particular one just on the edge of this grove here, and then we've come to one of my favorite places in the whole of Juma, this thicket of Tambuetis. I love this thicket only because there's just this real big sense, this peaceful sense that's coming through here. And I was actually wanting to know if one of these trees, this grandfather of a Tambueti tree, if berries have come out yet. Because yesterday we managed to find one with some berries on it already. The first of the, yes, here we go. Is the first one. Now the Tambueti trees, their fruit, which is basically what you're looking at over there, this little three-lobed fruit, get infested with a caterpillar that eats the fruit on the inside of this bulb and then jumps around. So it actually flicks the fruit off of the tree. They carpet these areas, literally just carpet these areas around our feet. And as that caterpillar jinks and bends inside that capsule, it makes the seeds jump quite high, probably about this much. So you are going to come here in a few months' time, probably end of October, beginning of November, mid-November, and I fully expect this to be carpeted with jumping seeds that are just jumping all over the place. And we'll come and have a look at how some of them are jumping. That's what I'm expecting. It was nice to see. This doesn't have as big a fruit as the one I found yesterday, but definitely, now that we get a bit closer, definitely has many of these fruits already. There's one right here. And on that, and as soon as Kirsty's ready, I suppose, we're going to send you over to Brent, who's got an update for you.